the reason why I think it's so significant is you can actually have your own money now versus the old system where there is an intermediary at all touch points. And even with metal-based monies like gold and silver, you have a minter of coins, and powers will centralize and control that process. Even when gold coins were prolific, at some point it became illegal to mint your own coins, right? There is the mint, and that is the group that gets to mint the coins. And of course, when you centralize power and control, they become corrupted and they start clipping and, mixing with other stuff. With Bitcoin, you get rid of all these deficiencies in every single other monetary system that has ever been created in humanity.
As Bitcoin shatters another all-time high, Samson Mow captures the gravity of this moment, a seismic shift in the story of money itself. For centuries, humanity has trusted intermediaries, banks, governments, and even the keepers of gold to safeguard wealth. Yet time and again, these systems have been poisoned by corruption, manipulation, and greed. Then Bitcoin came, Satoshi Nakamoto's audacious answer to humanity's flawed monetary history. It wasn't just a currency, it was a manifesto, a call for financial self-determination, and a future untethered from centralized control. Unlike anything before it, Bitcoin obliterates the vulnerabilities of legacy systems. Gold, once revered, succumbed to human corruption, its purity diluted by the very institutions meant to protect it. Bitcoin transcends these failures with an incorruptible, decentralized design that empowers individuals to transact with absolute freedom. It's not just a currency, it's a fortress, a beacon lighting the way to a world without gatekeepers. This is no mere technological leap, it's a revolution of the human spirit. Bitcoin dares us to rethink everything we know about wealth and power. As the world watches in awe at its meteoric rise, one question lingers in the air. Will you claim your place in this unprecedented financial renaissance? Let's watch clips from Samson Mow's explosive interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
So I would say overall, the time frame on which Bitcoin is accelerating on seems to be faster than I initially anticipated. So we've had a nation-state attack of sorts with China clamping down on mining. And we've had a nation-state, El Salvador, adopting Bitcoin. So in my view, these things would have happened, maybe in a few years' time, but it's happened already. So I would say it's accelerating. In terms of price action, I think we're behind though. Like we're just hovering around almost 100K right now, or 0.1 M. And I think we should have been here already. Like I think this year we should have been well into the mid 500 range, 500K range, if not 1 million. And for that delay, I would largely say it's a holdover from all of the fallout from all the fraudulent activities that have been undertaken by and large, the crypto ecosystem. So we're sort of being punished for what they've done. And this is the result, like Bitcoin price is muted. I think for Bitcoin, we're not yet primed for bigger numbers. And this is why I started promoting the M notation or million notation. Like some people call it the Mo notation, and some have called it like a Michael notation for Michael Saylor. But it's just the next logical step. So we're already talking about Bitcoin in terms of K, right? 1,000. It's not 100,000, it's 100K. So the logical extension is to go to M and then eventually, B for billion. But there is no really an upper bound for where Bitcoin will go. I believe we're going to cross this threshold. You can call it the Veblen threshold or some threshold whereby we start to demonetize other large pools of existing assets like gold, real estate, and whatnot. And then it just accelerates from there upwards. So I think that sweet spot somewhere in the 400 to 600K range. And that's when we really start to take gold market cap away from that and move it to Bitcoin. So it's really just framing Bitcoin in a way that people can understand that there is a lot of growth potential still, and to prepare them for $1 million Bitcoin and upwards, which I think some people can't see. They think, oh, well, it's grown so much. There's a diminishing return. That's a common one that people throw out there. But there is no such thing as diminishing returns when you're replacing an existing monetary system that is inferior. It just goes away and it dies. So it's not so much that I think we're going to be talking about multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin. If you priced it in terms of fiat, yes. But I think once you cross the few million mark, maybe in the 5 million range, I think that's when people stop accepting fiat currencies and they just accept sats. And that just becomes the new norm. So you'll never actually get to the point where, a Bitcoin is worth $1 trillion. We're going to switch completely off the fiat standard and onto the Bitcoin standard completely by that point. You pay maybe $10 a coffee right now. That's kind of ridiculous, right? And you might be paying 10, 15 bucks for a hamburger, but your grandparents paid 15 cents for a hamburger. So once we go back to that once we go to that Bitcoin standard and we reprice to Satoshis, I think, people will be earning 15 sats an hour at minimum wage, if there's still such thing as minimum wages, but everything will sound more normal and you'll have normal numbers once again.
Samson Mow highlights Bitcoin's rapid evolution, surpassing expectations with milestones like El Salvador's adoption and China's mining crackdown. However, he notes Bitcoin's price is undervalued due to fallout from fraudulent activities in the crypto space. Comparing Bitcoin to a beach ball held underwater, Mow predicts its price will skyrocket once suppressed forces ease. Advocating for M notation to better reflect Bitcoin's growing value, he foresees a shift to a Bitcoin standard that will reprice global economics, replace fiat currencies, and create a simplified, decentralized financial system driven by Satoshis. Mow further predicts a rapid acceleration in Bitcoin's growth, bridging the gap between its adoption and price. He envisions Bitcoin replacing fiat currencies entirely, challenging the coexistence theory of figures like Michael Saylor. Mow highlights the US dollar's precarious position, burdened by skyrocketing debt and geopolitical shifts favoring Bitcoin adoption. He asserts that failing fiat currencies will vanish as Bitcoin becomes the global standard. With exponential growth on the horizon, Mow foresees a transformative shift, reshaping the global monetary system within 2 years. Let's watch more clips from this interview.
I would say adoption is definitely ahead of schedule based on what I thought, 10 years ago. But price is definitely lagging. So what happens when there is this differential there is that one thing will catch very rapidly up with the other. And I don't think adoption is slowing. Therefore, price is going to accelerate in growth. So I've always maintained a view that Bitcoin is exponential in nature because adoption of technology is typically exponential. And money is even more foundational to civilization than basic things like a cell phone, right? So the adoption curve definitely should be approaching exponential. Now, exponential curves are very steep. So when you're predicting when it's going to happen, you think it's 5-10 years out, but because of that steepness of the curve, it's really difficult to say. Like, I think it's honestly going to be next year. At the most, the next year after that. So within 2 years, we'll start seeing that very steep exponential curve. And it's just suddenly is very sudden and people will start to see it. There's kind of two schools of thought out there. I would say one school of thought is like aligned with what I'm saying, which is Bitcoin will replace the dollar and it's going to happen very quickly. People aren't going to expect it and everything just gets priced into sats or Bitcoin. The other school of thought is, I guess, more the Saylor school of thought, which seems to believe in a coexistence. And some people that I've seen react to my posts online are very, very aggressively leaning towards this and denying the possibility that the dollar goes away. And it's hard to see these things happening, but I believe when fiat currencies fail, they just spectacularly fail. There is no real grace period because nobody wants it anymore at certain points, right? If I told you, Scott, I'll sell you 5,000 beaver pelts for dollars. Would you want the beaver pelts if you don't need them? Would you take them as money? Probably not, right? So inferior monies just kind of disappear over time and stop being money, and they become either ornamental or collectibles or anything like that. So it reverts back to, a more proto money. And then the other part is, I guess, can the dollar fail? And I believe that is a part of this equation because if you look at the debt right now, it's at 36 trillion, growing by $1 trillion a year. And that's going to accelerate because of the magic of compound interest. There's a school of thinking out there that the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix this by cutting spending. But you can cut all the spending you want, but that debt is still going to compound at a remarkably fast rate. And compounding is a wonder of the world. So it's good if you're compounding positively, but if you're compounding debt, it's pretty bad. So the question really is, can the US get out of this debt spiral? At the same time, the world is sort of geopolitically moving away from the dollar, and you have countries adopting Bitcoin as money at the same time. So the interplay of these three things is really going to be the determining factor of whether or not the dollar continues. And I'm, again, in the camp that it's not going to last. And it's just going to change the Bitcoin very rapidly. But, I could be wrong. Maybe Saylor is right. And there is this coexistence. And you can see that coexistence in his Bitcoin 24 model. And what it is he tapers off growth at some point. I forgot where, but maybe after the 2030s. And then it's just kind of Bitcoin growth just stabilizes. And I think the assumption there is that it just coexists with the dollar indefinitely.
The global financial landscape is at a tipping point, with Bitcoin hitting another all-time high, while the US dollar rallies to a 3-week high as traders anticipate a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. President-elect Donald Trump's hints at creating a US Bitcoin strategic reserve have further electrified the crypto space, positioning Bitcoin as a key player in reshaping financial systems. This dual movement highlights a convergence between traditional and decentralized currencies, signaling significant shifts in global monetary policies. Samson Mow's insights resonate strongly with these developments. He has consistently emphasized Bitcoin's potential to replace fiat currencies, including the US dollar, and its role in dismantling traditional financial limitations. With adoption accelerating faster than anticipated, Mow underscores that Bitcoin's exponential growth trajectory is inevitable, likening its current price suppression to a beach ball held underwater. Once these suppressive forces ease, Bitcoin's value could skyrocket, challenging the dominance of fiat currencies. Trump's vision to position the US as a global crypto hub aligns with Mow's belief in Bitcoin's transformative potential. As treasury yields and inflation concerns dominate traditional markets, Bitcoin emerges as a beacon of financial sovereignty, poised to redefine trade, investment strategies, and monetary policies. The question isn't whether Bitcoin will reshape the global economy, it's how soon this transformation will unfold. As we wrap up, how realistic do you think it is for Bitcoin to entirely replace fiat currencies within a few years? How would transitioning from fiat currencies to a Bitcoin standard reshape global economies? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.